Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Anish Rajah, and on my channel I make a ton of tech reviews, filmmaking guides and tutorials, and also just travel vlogs as well, and also a graduate student over at the School of Cinematic Arts at USC. In today's video, of course, you guys have seen the title and the thumbnail. My Cook SP3s are easily my favorite spherical cinema lenses that I have, especially as a solo cinematographer and DP and stuff that I do with my YouTube channel. It just makes it easier, and it's just so lightweight, so compact, and I love it. And personally for me, I've also been really interested in Anamorphics, as you guys saw with the C-Ray Iron Star, and I definitely want that same function that the SP3s give me in terms of lightweight, portable, easy to use as a solo DP, but especially giving me a nice high quality anamorphic look. And I feel like I was really waiting for this year in 2026, whether it was going to be NAB or Cinegear, for a company to release a set of anamorphics that would do that for me. And I think DZO was definitely a winner in that category with their new system of the Arcana 1.5 anamorphics. From the footage that I've seen both at NAB and other people's reviews of the Arcanas, they do look really nice. Now for me, I think the only thing that I'm not the biggest fan of the Arcanas is just how sharp some of those flares are, especially in some of the test footage that I've seen from other channels that have gotten their hands on the Arcanas. The flares just look extremely sharp, and if you guys have seen films that were shot with anamorphic lenses, whether it's like Panavision C-series lenses or just like really high quality anamorphics, usually when it comes to flares, you never want something that's like super sharp because it kind of just takes you out of the moment, and you want something that enhances the visual image rather than just making it the center focal point of your image. So definitely flares are a very big thing, especially when it comes to what kind of lenses you want, whether it's going to be anamorphics or certain filters that give you those flares in your image. But especially after seeing the Arcanas, I thought they would match really well, especially with the Canon C50 and also my C400, because they are both open gate capable cameras. I am still waiting for the firmware update Canon when you guys will give open gate for the Canon C80, but at least for the time being, we still have open gate for the C50 and the C400. We finally got our package of the DZOFilm Arcanas. I have to be careful because there's a lot of stickers all over it. But yeah, as you guys can see, we have DZO right here. So DZOFilm, and inside of it, we have our 3-lens set. So I decided to get the current full lens set that DZO has released for the Arcanas. At the moment, they've only released 3 focal lengths. They've released the 32mm, 45mm, and 75. I'm sure down the line they will release more focal lengths, hopefully either wider focal lengths or more telephoto focal lengths as well. But for the time being, I think 32 to 75 is a pretty standard range, not just for anamorphics, but even for spherical lenses as well. So I thought it'd be really nice, and also it does pair with my 3-lens set for my Cook SP3s, because even with my SP3s, currently I'm filming on the 32, but I also do have a 50 and 75, so definitely if I want an anamorphic pairing that can kind of help me in terms of having my SP3s and also having my Arcanas, I think this is a really nice combo. So without further ado, let's get into the unboxing. We are here greeted with the DZOFilm Arcana Pelican case. So especially when you decide to order the 3-lens set, you do get the Pelican case included with it. If you are only ordering single lenses, which actually I should already just mention pricing right off the bat, each lens right now I believe goes for $10.99, so pretty much $1,100. If you guys have the chance, I would highly recommend to test out different anamorphic D-squeezes just to see which one kind of fits your needs for whether it's a certain project or just your personal preference. But usually for me, I typically like 1.5 times. I feel like it's a really good middle ground between like a really tight 2-time squeeze and of course something that's like, a 1.33. So definitely I think 1.5 is kind of my area that I like. Enough talking, let's open up the case and see the lenses itself. You're greeted with the 3 lenses. So this is what you're greeted with when you open up the case. You have your 3 lenses all nice and packed, and I gotta say, seeing them again in person, especially in their case, looks really cool. And we are greeted with some additional DZOFilm shims. So definitely if you want to shim your lenses or get different looks, you can. Actually, you know what? First up, I am very curious to take out the 45mm. Usually for me, I'm a big 45mm anamorphic guy. That's usually my go-to focal length when it comes to anamorphics. I usually like a good middle ground. I feel like 32, occasionally here and there, it can just be a little too wide for me, and 75mm can be a little too tight. But I do think 75mm is good for like talking headshots, or if you don't want too much distortion in your frame. Usually 75mm is the one to go for. If you want a lot of distortion in your frame, anything that's like 30 or wider, usually that's what you go for. But 45 is usually a good middle ground, especially if you're testing. So I always usually recommend people to just start off with 45 mils when it comes to anamorphics, because you kind of just get the best of both worlds. You still have a pretty wide sense in terms of how much your anamorphic squeeze is giving you, but you are still getting a pretty decent profile look with this lens. All right, so of course, taking it out of its little bag, right off the bat, as I've mentioned, the build quality on this is really nice. I'm a huge fan of the titanium finish. It's like this aluminum alloy titanium look. Of course, it is a PL mount lens. So for me, I think this is actually my first set of lenses for personal use that I have that are actually true PL mount. We have our C50, and let me pull out the PL adapter that I'm planning to use for this setup. And it's actually interesting because I haven't used the adapter just yet. So everything is kind of still brand new in the box itself. But of course, I will put it to the side since mainly we're going to be focusing with the bokeh MoFage. Now, for a lot of DPs out there and for a lot of cinematographers who are solo shooters, or if you are film students like me, you have probably seen this adapter in a lot of places, whether it's trade shows or conventions or just a bunch of things. I feel like a lot of people have been getting their hands on the bokeh MoFage. The fact that you can have a nice built-in variable ND filter that you can easily just kind of slap in there, just like that. You have a nice variable ND you can just slide into the adapter itself. So then that way for the front of the lens, you don't need to go and put a screw-on filter if your camera doesn't have built-in ND. So especially for a camera like the C50 or even other cameras like the Sony FX3 and just other mirrorless cameras that don't have built-in ND, having an adapter like the bokeh MoFage comes in really, really handy. All right, and just like that, we have the DZOFilm Arcana on the C50. And of course, once we take off our top filter, boom, there we go. Now I can actually see the lens in all of its glory. First impressions, already really happy with the Arcanas. Obviously just the overall look and feel of them just reminds me, especially like the first time that I was using my Cooke SP3s. I remember the first time that I used the Cooke SP3s, I was like, I really love the size and form factor of the lenses, and obviously now it's kind of just like my go-to lens. But if I really want a nice, solid, portable anamorphic lens, I do think the Arcanas are going to be that for me. So obviously right now, just a quick test with the 45mm. Later in the video, we are going to be testing out more with the 32 and the 75 to see how all three of them compare, see which lens I would first recommend if you are just starting out with anamorphics and you don't really know what lens you want to go for. And of course, giving you my ultimate full-on review of what I think of these lenses. So let's get to some of the creative shots. I gotta say, definitely taking out the DZOFilm Arcanas was a nice treat, especially just with the Canon C50. And as I've mentioned before, the DZOFilm Arcanas really give me the same vibe that I had when I got my hands on the Cooke SP3s, because especially as a solo DP and as a solo camera operator, like it just makes it so much easier and so much more versatile. Now, as for the characteristics that these lenses reproduce, definitely the biggest thing that I was definitely concerned about going into these test shots was the lens flare. And I gotta say, after doing my tests with the lens flares, it really just depends on how much you can control your environment, and also if you can control your light source, because definitely there are times where that lens flare is just way too strong, especially in areas or certain situations where you just don't want the lens flares to be that strong. So that's definitely where some of the higher quality anamorphics or the more expensive anamorphics will do you a lot better justice, because a lot of those flares just look a lot more natural. It's a bit more soft. It's not as strong or like a strong line as the DZOFilm Arcanas. But there are certain times where those lens flares do look really nice with the Arcanas, especially in some of the shots that I got with some cars passing by and seeing some of the car headlights in the front. The lens flares aren't super big or super wide, but it does add some really cool characteristics to the overall look of the image because it just gives like that subtle hint to the car headlight. But other than the lens flares, when it comes to the overall image, and especially some of that barrel distortion and a bit more of that swirly bokeh, if you are someone who operates or owns the Cooke SP3s, you can actually match the look of the Cooke SP3s with the DZOFilm Arcanas. I want to talk a little bit more between the three of them and also what makes them each distinct in their own way, and also which focal length I recommend for you guys if you are planning to look and try out some of the DZO Arcanas for yourselves. Now, starting off with the 32mm, I will admit the 32mm is probably the lens that I wouldn't use that often. If you like to get your opening shot or your environment shot or just landscapes in general, like if you really just want to capture the environment and you're not really focused on certain people's or portrait looking shots, then I think the 32mm works really well in that sense. But especially for someone like me who definitely likes to do more close-ups, and whether it's like vlog style content or even just like, you know, close-ups of actors or people in front of the camera, that's definitely where the 45mm and the 75mm are going to come in handy. And I will say, for me personally, the 45mm is definitely my go-to option, and it's usually the focal length that I recommend most people to go to first, because the thing about anamorphics, for those who don't know exactly the difference between what an anamorphic lens does compared to a spherical lens, is that an anamorphic lens, in terms of its width, because it is de-squeezing that image, whether it's a 16:9 aspect ratio or 3:2, 4:3, 6:5, depending on what type of ratio that you're shooting at, what it'll do is that when it de-squeezes, the width of the image is going to resemble half of like what a spherical lens is. So for example, if you're shooting on a 45mm lens, the overall width is going to look closer to like a 20 to maybe 24mm lens. So you're going to get that width of a 24, but when it comes to the height of your image, so definitely the top and bottom, that's where you get that compression that looks like a 45mm lens on a spherical. Whether you are shooting wide shots or even close-up shots of people, I just feel like the 45mm does you justice. It's not too tight, but it's also not too wide. It really is that perfect medium where you can use it for a plethora of shots. I will say the 75mm has definitely started to grow on me a lot. It's what I have on my C50 right now, but the 75mm is the one focal length that has the least amount of distortion within the image compared to the 45 and the 32. Now, ultimately, are the DZOFilm Arcanas worth it in terms of its price? Personally, for me, I would say 100%, especially the fact that each lens is roughly $1,000. And if you can get all three with the Pelican case as well, the fact that it's only around $2,899 or $2,900 definitely feels like a really nice deal. And with that, that's going to do it for us on today's video, talking about the DZOFilm Arcanas. If there's anything that you guys want to know more about, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding any of these lenses, please let me know in the comments down below. More than happy to help you guys out there, and make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Take it easy. Peace.